waiting for me.
Hey, like the title said, this is the story of my e-bike and how it legitimately changed my life. People ask me all the time about it because you don't see many e-bikes around here, and I tell people first thing, like, it's changed my life for the better. So I'm going to share that story, I'm going to share the specs, and maybe just answer some questions about e-bikes that you might be curious about. So let's do some specs first. This is a Co-op Cycles Generation E 1.2 electric bike, or as the shop calls it, the Gen E. It's a discontinued model, unfortunately, so you might run into one used, but I don't think you can find them new anymore. Like I said, it's an REI branded bike. It is a Bafang system in there. It's a Class 1 pedal assist up to 20 miles an hour. It's a 350 watt motor in the back, 672 watt battery. It's 54 pounds, aluminum. It's considered a mini cargo e-bike, I guess is what I would consider it, or maybe that's the official description. It's got a welded rear rack on there, and then it's got a removable front rack, no suspension. Step through, one size fits all, 20 by 2.4 inch tires, hydraulic disc brakes. It's got a front and a rear light. Obviously comes with a battery, charger, kickstand. It is pretty much ready to rip the road. On the website here, which I have pulled up and I'm reading from, it says 40 to 50 miles, and I agree. If you're very much conserving the battery, then yeah, that seems accurate even after a year of use. Which, yes, I have over a year of use. I have a little over 3,000 miles on it, and this is actually the ride I'm taking in to get it serviced because I turned it on one day and it was flashing service. So, long story short, doesn't really mean anything. If your e-bike does that, it's just a reminder to take it in because someone should probably look at it. As far as how this e-bike got into my possession, it's a pretty cool story actually. At this point in our life, this is like winter 2023. We had closed, me and my wife ran a business. We had closed that down and we decided to do the non-business owner life. So she got a job working at an elementary school as a paraprofessional, and I was working part-time at we'll just call it a retail store. It's super close to our apartment, and I was just riding my single-speed beach cruiser to and from. Literally took me 5 minutes. It was fine. It was something to make a bit of money, but I needed to figure something out. And I liked what she was doing as a para, and I thought, well, I want to get an e-bike so I can have a little bit more range, a little bit more confidence when going somewhere. And I think when that happens, that's when I'll apply to get this para job. And I knew e-bikes were expensive. I researched the hell out of them, and I knew, like, e-bikes, you want to get something that has a name behind it. You don't want to just order whatever on Amazon. You want to preferably get it from a shop also that can service it. So I had done my research. I knew, like, it's not going to be cheap, so I figured it would be a while until I could purchase this. So I was just working my little part-time job, trying to save money to do that, but I didn't think it would happen as quick as it did. What had happened is I got a flat on that beach cruiser, had to get a new tube. So my brother took me to REI one day to get that tube, and there it was in the garage sale, the Lorax, as I call it. It was in their used section, if you don't know. So I'd run a picture of it, and she said, "How much is it?" "About $900 after tax." She asked, "Did I test ride?" I said, "No, should I?" She said, "Yeah, why not?" So I test rode it, and that was my first time on an e-bike, and it just clicked. Like, this is the solution. This is what I need. I don't have a car. I don't have a license. I don't want either of those. I'm pretty sure I probably shouldn't have any of those. So this is my best option for where we live and just my life. So yeah, that pedal assist. It's a pedal assist, so no throttle on this one, which I could get into, but I don't think throttles are necessary. I think pedal assist is where it's at personally. So I test rode it. I told her, yeah, I test rode it. And then I asked the REI shop, like, what's the story about this? And they said it was returned. And they did a whole rehaul on it, put like a new computer in, new motor, tuned it up. So essentially it was a used frame, a few scuffs here and there, but pretty much all new parts all around. And $900 after tax. So gave this information to Rena. She said, I think it's time. And this was shocking to me because I figured like maybe next year that time I could have enough money to get a bike, but yeah, that was that. I walked in for an inner tube and walked out with a used new to me electric bike. So literally once I had the bike, it was I think a Thursday or Friday, and then that weekend I had put in my application to get the better job, better pay, better hours. So this is the confidence that it gave me. Like I knew once I had this, like we're good. Like I have a little more range in my life. I can do a little bit more. I can feel confident going to a job that gives me more stability in our life. So in a second here, I'm gonna get a little B-roll footage just showing off the beauty. She's like I said, over 3,000 miles, but it's a tough bike, and bike as bikes should. Like I always apologize for it being scuffed and muddy and stuff when I bring it into the shop, but they appreciate it, I think, and that I'm actually out there using it, and it's pretty much my daily commuter unless I decide to take my acoustic bike. But anyways, here's a little bit of footage of the bike. So, like I was saying, I got this bike, I applied for the job, I got the job obviously, and I started commuting to and from work on a bike at a school. And ironically, it's the same district that I went through and grew up in, Birmingham Public Schools. So, it was an interesting thing, I think, for everyone at the school that I landed at, and then just me also kind of navigating this bike commuter life. Because I try to normalize it as much as I can now. But for a lot of people, it's just not normalized, especially here in Southeast Michigan. I mean, I think people look at people who choose to cycle, whether they choose or that's their only option, and kind of look down upon them like they are less and all that kind of stuff, which I get why that's the mentality, but I think we need to break that stigma and kind of normalize it. So I parked my bike at school with where the kids park their bike, except during the winter. I do bring it inside during the winter, and luckily my school's cool with that. But I like to lock it up out there with them. It's just really fascinating to see the effect that it has on the kids who I work with. Because obviously most of them haven't seen an adult in their life who's in charge of them at that, who chooses to ride their bike to and from work. And they tell me all the time, I have kids who I don't even work with in school. I don't even know their names, and they'll come up to me and say, I saw you here or there. And it's just interesting, like the excitement it brings them and the wonder and the fascination. I mean, I work in a elementary slash middle school, so there's older kids also who have like asked me like, do you not like have a car? And I'm like, no, I don't. My wife has one, but no, I don't. I just ride my e-bike. And like, I think because they're in middle school and they're still a little impressionable, they're like, that's really cool. That's really cool. So being able to break that stigma, like, absolutely, it should be and is normal for an adult to ride their bike, whether it's an e-bike or an acoustic bike to work, should be a normal thing in life. I think, at least that's my opinion. But what do I know? A big thing, a big challenge, I guess, is learning the weather and how weather works, I guess, because we all know there's this thing, weather and hot and cold and rain and snow, but like until you really immerse yourself into it, you don't understand. I feel like you don't understand how it works, like what's actually too cold, what's actually too hot, and the answer, at least for me personally, and it varies person to person, neither. There's no such thing as bad weather, just bad gear. So I have invested in a decent amount of different weather scenarios gear, mostly winter gear. And there are a few days throughout the year that it is just too snowy, and I do just opt for the carpooling with my wife, who works not far down the road from me. So that's easy. But as far as weather goes, you will have to learn it and how you tolerate it and how you deal with it. I will say, if you're in cold weather, bar mitts are an absolute game changer. I just got some this year, and those things are magical. I went out on a ride on a day that we had school canceled, actually, because of the cold, and I went for a ride, and I didn't even need to put gloves on underneath the bar mitts themselves. So 10 out of 10 would recommend bar mitts. I think the biggest thing that this e-bike has done for me is just given me the freedom to move, essentially. I'm sure I'll talk about it someday as to why I don't have a car or a license, but I this e-bike has given me the confidence and the power to kind of just come at peace with that in terms to it, and I think that's a really important thing. And I know there's a whole deep dive into urban planning and all that, and why we need to do better. And I think e-bikes are a big part of giving people mobility and the freedom to live lives. Like a few weeks ago, on a weekend, I decided I would go to the grocery store because Rena didn't want to, and I was able to do that, and I was able to do that easily. Just go to the grocery store and get groceries for that. I wasn't able to do that before, um, which sounds really small, but it does make a big impact. And even over a year into this, I mean, doing minute things like going to the shoe repair store like I did a few weeks ago, or going to get us bagels, or going to get coffee or whatever. Like, I can do those things and just live life and enjoy it. Do I have the best infrastructure? Absolutely not, by no means, but I have something that can take me to and from places with confidence and with ease. So I've rambled now, and I could continue rambling on how great e-bikes are and how important they are and what they do for people, but I want to talk a little bit about what it's like actually owning an e-bike and kind of the maintenance behind it and the day to day. The first thing, I have people stop me all the time and ask about it, and the first thing I tell them, if they're interested, is like, go to a bike shop and get an e-bike. Get it from a shop that will service it, which most shops who sell them will service them, and also shops will be selling reputable e-bikes. I think that's a huge thing because I'm not mechanical at all. I'm not even going to beat around the bush. Like, I know how to lube a chain. I can clean a bike. I can't. I'm sure I could, but I'm just not good at that. So I think having a shop that you're confident in, that they're confident, is super important when purchasing an e-bike. Because an e-bike's not a regular bike, obviously. It has a motor in it. It has a computer on it. It's a whole other beast. Also, a big thing is if you buy bikes from the internet, at this point, most shops won't service bikes that they didn't sell directly. I don't know if we're going to shift that at any point, but that's pretty much what it is. Even if it's the same kind of Like I went to the Trek store maybe a year ago and asked if they would service this because they sell Bafang bikes, and they said no. And it all comes down to liability and warranty. So when you're purchasing an e-bike, make the shop a consideration. The other big thing, and this isn't as big, but just a thing to keep in your head is the most two expensive things on your bike is going to be the motor and the battery. Those are like, I think a battery is like 400 bucks, maybe. Motor, I have no idea, but those are the most expensive things on your e-bike, and I'm sure a day will come when I do need to replace those, and I absolutely will, as long as my frame is still okay. But especially the battery, because the battery's coming in and out of the bike all the time for charging, so be careful with it. Take it in when it's cold. If you're cold, they're cold. If you're hot, they're hot. So treat it like a baby. Don't drop it either. I hear that's bad. I haven't had any issues with my battery, although I did lose the little dust cover for the charging port, so that's got me a little concerned. As far as everything else on the bike, it's normal bike parts, normal cassette, normal chain, normal braking. It's usually higher end, kind of top of the line stuff. It should be hydraulic disc brakes as you're moving at a high speed and e-bikes are heavy. Shifting, all that stuff, it's going to wear a little faster than a normal bike, but that's just because there's more, I guess, pressure or torque being put on them, more use being put on them. So future Trevor, I guess this is, I'm dropping the bike off, and they said new chain, new freewheel, and then new cassette. And that's after about 3,000 miles, daily riding, in the rain, snow, all that stuff. So I think that's fair. It cost me a little over $100 for all that. And then these kinds of repairs, like, yeah, it's a lot of money, but also this is my car replacement. So $100 once a year, sign me up. I'm into it. I think I did actually do the math one time on how much it costs to charge the battery at home here, and it pans out to like $15 a year. So e-bikes are cheaper than cars. That's obvious, but I just like pointing it out because why not? They're so much more fun than cars also. So we're coming to the end here, and I know this video is kind of all over the place. It's a little jumbly, but I have a lot to say about e-bikes and my e-bike and how great they are and how cool they are. So if you like this, let me know. Chime in if there's like niche kind of topics you want me to dive into on bike commuting or just bikes in general. Let me know. I don't know everything. I'm still very fresh into this, but I'm learning a lot every day thanks to the internet. Shout out to the internet, and then also to my bike shops that I go to, REI and the downtown Ferndale Bike Shop. So shout out to those people also. Great people all around. But yeah, if you like it, I guess give it a like. If you want to see more, let me know. And that's all I got for this one. So until next time, see ya.